Paul Connett, Professor Emeritus of Chemistry from St. Lawrence University in Canton, New York, and now the Executive Director of the Fluoride Action Network. 14 years ago, my wife put a bundle of papers down on my table and said, "Dear, would you read these?" And I said, "What is it?" And she said, "Fluoride, fluoridation." I said, "Take that stuff away, these people are crazy." At that time, I felt that fluoridation was all cut and dried, it was safe, it worked well for teeth and so on, no problems. After I read the papers, the scientific papers, I was really rather humbled and embarrassed, because I realized that this impression that I was walking around with, that there was no issue here, there was no debate, was clearly not true. There were very serious questions. One of the issues that concerned me greatly was how low the level of fluoride is in mother's milk. It's actually as low as 0.004 parts per million, which means that a bottle-fed baby in a fluoridated community where the parents make up the formula with fluoridated tap water is going to get 250 times more fluoride than a breastfed baby. And I felt then, and I feel now, that nature wouldn't have screwed up on something as fundamental as what a baby needed for healthy growth. And as I read more, I realized that there were some serious health concerns here. And as I read still more, it was clear that there was no difference in tooth decay between fluoridated and non-fluoridated countries. And also, even though most people have been persuaded that everybody is doing it, and you could argue that most people are doing this in the United States, but most people in the world are not doing it. Most countries are not fluoridated. 98% of Europe is not fluoridated. The majority of countries are not fluoridated. In fact, there's only 8 countries in the world that have more than 50% of their water fluoridated. So the odd men out are the people that fluoridate. If you get chance to talk to an audience with an open mind, an audience that's prepared to listen, it doesn't take very long to persuade them that this is a very silly practice. It's bad. It's a bad medical practice. When you think about it, once you put it in the water, you can't control the dose. Once you put it in the water, you can't control who gets it, which means the very young, the very old, the very sick, the people with impaired kidney function, the people with poor diet. And also, there is no individual supervision. There's no doctor checking to see if there's any side effects. And if you believe in fluoridation, that you believe that there's this single drug in the world that has no side effects. It would be absolutely remarkable if fluoride had no side effects. And the only way they're able to maintain this very unlikely position is that they're not doing comprehensive health studies in the United States to see if communities that are fluoridated are experiencing greater health problems. Are they experiencing arthritis? That's important because there is an increase in arthritis in the United States, and we know that the first symptoms of fluoride's damage to the bone is just like arthritis, pains in the joints, in the bones themselves. Another thing that's associated with fluoride is lowered thyroid function. Again, we have a huge epidemic of underactive thyroid gland in the United States, with symptoms like lethargy, chronic fatigue, depression, obesity, and so on. All of these things are all around us, but nobody is checking to see if there's any relationship between people drinking fluoridated water their whole lives. By the way, that's another reason why fluoridation is so preposterous. You are giving a drug to people for them to drink every day of their lives for the rest of their lives. I mean, it is, quite frankly, it's one layer of preposterousness on top of another. And to top it all, to make it a very clear case of bad medicine, you're not giving people informed consent. You're allowing a whole community to do to everyone what an individual doctor can do to no one. An individual doctor cannot force a patient to take medicine. They are required to tell them the benefits and the downside, the side effects. And once the patient has heard these, then they are supposed to make up their own mind. We haven't given our consent to this. To me, it's the height of arrogance. We are meant to believe that just because they put on a white coat and tell you that they're the experts, that we have to take this medicine. It's absolute nonsense. And the other thing which is preposterous about this is a dentist has skills on teeth. We go to dentists for them to drill and polish and do other things with our teeth. Those dentists are not trained. They're not specialists in the brain, in the bone, in the thyroid gland, in the lung, in the kidney, into hypersensitivity, into margin of safety analysis, into risk assessment, in toxicology. They don't have any of the skills which will enable them to go to the public and say it is safe. They haven't done the reading, they don't have the skills. It's as I say, it's the height of arrogance.